Producer Bill Rabe took his tape recorder and the Super Chief to Los Angeles and a car across the freeways to an apartment in Santa Monica overlooking the sea. In a room filled with the byproducts of a full life on stage and screen, he asked Stan Laurel how it all began.
I was raised in the business, you might say. My dad had several theaters. He authored several plays. My mother was a well-known actress in that part of England. It was mostly in the north of England. They had these theaters. Shows, of course, played. I think the first time I was on the stage, I played a newsboy in a show called, let me see, I think it was called I believe it was The Lights of London.
Do you remember your first line?
It was just to walk across latest edition, so I don't even remember, but I mean, it was so very slight that it was just an exposure to an audience for the first time. I think the reason I drifted into comedy was the fact that I wasn't just cut out for an actor. I mean, a straight actor. I just wasn't able to talk. I mean, as I keep saying. My first professional job was in a pantomime. In the north of England, it was juvenile pantomime. Pantomime, of course, isn't the miming as you refer to it here.
Christmas show.
It's a Christmas pantomime. They talk, they sing, they dance, they do comedy bits and numbers and what have you. In other words, it's a fairy story. And in this nursery was all the toys, his rocking horse and them, but many of the toys were human beings. It just stood quite still all the time. So another boy and I played a couple of gollywogs. Those are those rag dolls. You probably know them. So that was my first...
That was your first taste of people laughing when you...
Yeah, we used to do little comedy bits and, Then I went with a show called The House of Jack Built. It was for the same outfit, for the juvenile panto. And after that, I went into a dramatic show and did a comedy part called Alone in the World. It was an American show. The author was an American. I think he wrote The Fatal Wedding. It was a very famous old-time dramatic play. So this was another one of his shows. And it was just a little touring company, it wasn't anything.
What happened from there?
Oh, Lord, now it's starting to get varied. I had a crack at vaudeville. In those days, it was quite a thing to be a boy comic. Boy comedian, you would be billed. But I didn't last too long at that. The strange thing, I was never too successful as a single comic.
No?
I always had more success with teams.
Did you work as a team before you went with Oliver?
I had several teams. I had a trio. We started out first as three English comiques. And then we later changed the name to the Keystone Trio. And then...
Why Keystone?
Well, because I did the Chaplin impersonation, and the other boy did Chester Conklin, and his wife played in the act. She did Mabel Norman. So it was quite a hit in those days. Chaplin was just coming up, and he was very popular, so he's kind of caught up.
In your work before you teamed with the big team, had you always played the same type of character you personally?
Oh, no, I varied a great deal. In those days, I parted my hair in the middle. I was a different style. In fact, I had no particular style. I was just fishing around and trying to find myself, as you might say.
What led to the
I don't know. It just developed for some reason or other. Just developed.
There's no one person you can say?
No, I don't think there's anybody can lay claim to it just evolved. The same with Hardy.
As the characterizations that were to become world famous evolved, so did Stan Laurel's techniques of comedy development. Stan was the principal writer, gag man, or creator of the team. Where did he find comedy material?
Well, you unconsciously remember things. You put another point to it. You see something. It's like writing stories and everything. Everyone has something from somewhere. You visualize the situation and what could have happened. Might be very funny. Because we turn tragedy into comedy. Many of our stories are shorts. Could have and have been used in feature pictures as serious material. We took the other line there, the humorous side of it. At times there was a little pathos. I think it's good for a comic. It's necessary for a comic to have pathos.
Would you want to leave them that way, though, at the end of the film?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it just depends. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Now, we have many fine comics I did have in England. But Chaplin was one. You could have them laughing 1 minute and crying the next, a lump in the throat. That's a great artist, I think.
What about those golden days of radio? Did Laurel and Hardy have a go before the sightless microphone?
We never talked. We made one recording down at, I don't know whether it was NBC or CBS. We wanted to make a recording to see if it would be okay for a show, radio show. Nothing developed from it. I don't think we were too good. We were more of a sight comics than talking.
I've heard that short thing you did in BBC.
Well, we were on a couple of times, I believe. I never did hear. Well, there was a little radio station at the Road Studio in those days. There was a little program from 7 till 8, I think, called the Cuckoo Hour. And that was a little strain, the theme that they used at the start and the close of the program. But they did piano numbers and they told jokes and just advertising in between. It was a little insignificant station. So we had this one morning with the tune, the little cuckoo thing. Take a lesson with that. Let's get a recording made of it and put it in one of our pictures at the opening to see what the reaction would be. And the audience laughed at it. So I think Roach gave the guy $50 for the rights to it. That's nothing, you know. So it became quite popular. It became our trademark. The Boston Symphony Orchestra made a beautiful overture of it.
I suppose they've ever recorded it,
I heard it. People have told me it was on the air, but I never did hear it, and I was never able to get a copy of it. But it was done by the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And then the Columbia Orchestra in London also made one.
You first see Oliver Hardy then?
Well, Hardy, I first made a picture for Bronco Billy Anderson. I'd never met him, and he called me up one night and asked me to come down to the hotel that he would like to have me make a series of pictures. So at that time, we had no studio, so I rented space at the Celix Zoo studio here. And he'd had, when he had the studio in Niles, California, at the time Chaplin was with him, and Ben Turpin, and Wally Beery, and Gloria Swanson. They were called S&E pictures. Well, he had a director with him at that time called Jess Robbins, who is now directing over at Vitagraph Studio with Larry Seaman. So Anderson called him up and said, I got a new comic. I want you to make this pilot picture with him. So Robbins happened to be between pictures with Seaman. So he brought his cameraman over to direct this picture with me. And also brought Hardy, who Hardy was doing the heavies for Seaman. That Hardy, Babe as we call him later, didn't wear any mustache. He just played a heavy part. It was mostly for chase at those type of days. So that's the first time that I met Babe, but only for 2 or 3 days. And then I didn't see him for probably 2 or 3 years after. Till later he came down to the Hal Roach studio where I was now writing, directing in a gag man capacity. So I was making a picture with Clyde Cook, and Babe got into stock at the studio. We had a little stock company there. So I used Babe many times in whatever pictures I was making. And finally we were ready to go on a picture on the Monday, and on the Friday before, Babe burnt his arm pretty bad. He used to love to cook at home. This happened when he was cooking the roast of lamb, and the pan fell out the oven, and the hot grease burnt his arm. So he wasn't able to go into the picture on the Monday. So at the last minute, Roach says, well, you better go in. He couldn't find anybody to play it. So at the last minute, I went in and played it a la my idea of it. Of course, had to be changed from the way Hardy looked at it. Anyway, Roach liked it, the preview, and says, keep yourself in for the next one. So in a couple of weeks or so, Hardy was back. And the next one was a picture with Priscilla Dean and Herb Rawlinson. I'm trying to think what the name of that picture was. Anyway, Babe and I were in that picture, although we went as a team. We did come together in the picture, although we had no connection in the story. So Roach liked that one, says keep on doing that, and I kept on making the pictures, and finally it evolved. Roach just says we'll make the Laurel and Hardy comedy, that's all. So from then on it just evolved and developed. The characters evolved, they developed.